We've talked about the query plan cache, so let's see a demonstration of how we can analyze the query plan cache.
I've got a selection of different queries to analyze the query plan cache. So to start off with, we're just going to run a query here to find out some information, high-level information about the plan cache stores. So it's using sysdm os memory cache counters. And execute this. And we can see we've got 4 different plan caches. And then within those we'll have multiple buckets. We can see the 4 different plan caches. We can see entries in use. We can see that some are being used more than others. We've got no pages in use whatsoever for the boundaries and extended store procedures, but the object plans and SQL plans are in use. So within that plan cache store we have hash buckets. Now the actual query plans will be located in a hash bucket based on a quite straightforward algorithm, but basically it sort of shares them across buckets in here. So we can have a look at these buckets within here. So this time we're looking in DMOS memory cache hash tables and DMOS memory cache counters. And from there we can see the buckets count. So we can see that object plan SQL plan's got 40,009 buckets. So those are buckets of the individual plans. The plans are spread across buckets, and the buckets occur within the plan cache. Now we'll just have a look at the attributes of the plan cache key, and we can see each attribute. You can show everything. pa.star would just show is cache key equals 1, but these are 2 important columns in here. So we can see all the different options. We can see the databases running on, the user, and all of the different settings on, off, or set to a particular value within here. Let's have a look at cost information. So we're starting to get some more useful information now. This is sorted by the type, object type, and current cost. So the important bit is current cost really in here. So we want to look at the cost of these plans that we have in here, and you'll see that they go because it's grouped by type, and you'll see that although the cache type I think is the same for all of them, as you go down then it will go to another object type in here, and you see the current cost goes back up again. So we can see the most costly ones in here, and we can see the text of that. We can see actually what was it that generated that plan in here. Now I'm going to empty the cache. Now this is not something you would normally do. This is actually, we're doing this so that we know that we have an empty cache for the future that's going forward. You typically would not do this on a production system because the cache is there to improve efficiency. But we want to clear out the cache for this, and you'll see it went from 317 down to 0 in the plan count. We're going to execute a stored procedure. Now this stored procedure in here will return nothing. Let's have a look at the cached plan for this. And we can view a graphical execution plan by clicking on the XML query plan. And you can actually see the execution plan from within there. So within the plan cache you can get a graphical plan out of it. And it works like any graphical plan. You can hover over all the objects just as you can with an execution plan. Now I want to have a look at what happens if we change some settings for our session. So to start off with, we're going to check the arith abort setting just to check that it is on. So it's 1 at the moment, and we'll turn it off. And it should be 0. Just check that. So we've modified the setting. Now I'm going to do it's exactly the same as before. Execute the stored procedure again. Again, it will return no results, same as before. It's identical, hasn't changed at all. Now what we're going to do though is have a look at the cached plan. Now what we see is there's 2 cached plans. And there are 2 cached plans because we've got different set options in here. They have the same it's the same query within there, but because there's different set options, therefore it has to create a different plan. So it will create different plans if you've got different circumstances for your query. Even if it's the same query, it's saying, well, okay, it's the same query, but we've got different settings, so therefore it requires a different plan. Now, before I ran the DBCC FreeProt cache, and so that's not recommended, what you can do though is you can empty the cache and do it by using SP recompiler. This is much more specific. You can point it to a table or an individual object, and that would cause a recompile of that specific object. And that is a useful feature. So if I want to recompile just for that object or for everything used using a particular table, we can execute that. So that's marked for recompilation. And now we're going to have a look at the cache again. And you see we've cleared out the procedure cache. So if you want to clear out the cache, that's fine. SP recompile on an object, and that's very specific, rather than DBCC FreeProt cache, which is too blunt and will really clear everything out. So this example, we wanted to clear that specific item out, and it's straightforward to do so. Now let's have a look at auto parameterization. So we have an ad hoc statement in here. So we'll execute this statement and then examine the plan cache for that statement. Now let's have a look at the graphical plan, and you'll see it's a little bit unusual. Well, it's very unusual. It only has a single select statement. Now let's find some more information about this. So I'm going to right click this select statement, and then let's have a look at the show execution plan XML. Now from this we can see a little bit more information is going on, and actually what's happening is that this is actually referencing another plan handle, and also if we scroll across, that this has been parameterized in here. So it's parameterized, it's referencing another plan handle. What I'm going to do is copy that parameterized plan handle, and we'll see if we can get a bit more information about it. Let's do Control-C to copy it, and then I'm going to replace the value in here. So we're going to have a look at the query plan from dmexec query plan for that plan handle. And if I execute this, see we get another XML plan, and then we can see more information about it. So those parameterized plans, sometimes you're going to have to look in more depth at a plan when it appears to have nothing but a basic select statement. It actually is referencing another plan, and we can go and have a look at that information and find information about that clustered index C, because it is there. It's actually stored plan that it was using, so that information is there. So you can get more information about your plans. You can have a look and find out when plans are being reused, when they're not being reused, when settings are changed. You can recompile, typically avoiding clearing the whole procedure cache, but you can have a look what's in the cache, what's in the buckets, or the counts in the buckets, and look at reuse of plans in there to improve the performance of your systems.